In case you ever wondered, this guy in the picture is the namesake of the city of Dearborn. So this is General Henry Dearborn, a veteran of the American Revolution who, spoiler alert, never went to Michigan. Born in the 1750s, Dearborn is exceedingly young during the American Revolution and finishes the war as a lieutenant colonel. Later on, as a big supporter of the Democratic Republican Party, Dearborn is chosen as Thomas Jefferson's Secretary of War. Thus, Dearborn is pretty much in charge of Jefferson's military philosophy of cut the military down in size, yet also use it for a ton of things. As Secretary of War, Dearborn notably ordered the construction of what became Fort Dearborn at Chicago. He was also involved in the creation of West Point and organizing the logistics of the Lewis and Clark expedition. It was also him responsible for shutting down that whole Aaron Burr conspiracy to sell off the western U.S. Now, when the War of 1812 comes around, Dearborn is the only high-ranking U.S. officer who is a Democratic Republican. Thus, President Madison puts him in charge of the entire U.S. Army. Being in his 60s and never really having commanded a large military force, Dearborn is not really very good at managing the whole U.S. Army during the early part of the War of 1812. He's not really able to coordinate major attacks upon the British properly in Canada, and he's also really not very good at supporting his various armies. Thus, the U.S. absolutely gets trounced by the British in several early battles, and Detroit falls to the British. Now, Dearborn is eventually removed from command and leaves the army in 1815. His only real major stint after that is as ambassador to Portugal in the 1820s, and he finally ends up dying in 1829. Now, if you're wondering how Dearborn, Michigan got named after him, basically the town's founder is Joshua Howard, and Howard served under Dearborn in the War of 1812. Howard liked Dearborn, and also after he got wounded, it was basically Dearborn responsible for getting him back into the army with the officer's commission. So when Howard suggested the name Dearborn for the village of Dearborn and the surrounding township, at that point, Dearborn had only died a few years previously, thus it was deemed a decent tribute. Now, I'm talking about Henry Dearborn today because next Wednesday, September 3rd at 7 p.m., we're going to have a lecture here by author Terry Nelson entirely about the life of Henry Dearborn.